Have you ever had a realization that goes something along the lines of, my thoughts don't seem to be helping me to perform at my best? Have you ever noticed that what you're thinking and what you're trying to do doesn't quite seem to align? Is there a gap between how you should be thinking and thoughts that would actually be constructive versus what you're currently entertaining in your mind? If so, please become hyper aware. Really notice, really pay attention, because what very often happens is that there's a dissonance and we start to drift. We have this potential gap that begins to develop between who we could be and how great we could be, and then what we actually are, who we actually are. When you start to just drift away from your best self, and when you start to realize that this is happening, it's very painful, because you know that you could be so much better, you could be doing so much more, and maybe you even know everything that you need to do in order to get there, but somehow, some way, you're still stuck. You can break free from this, and you can do it in this very moment. It's not something where you have to work on your psychology for 10 to 20 years, and only then will you finally be able to process and work through this. Not at all. It only requires decision. And in order to build confidence to get that decision, you just have to really project into the future and see the level of impact that it would make for you. And so I want you to imagine what life would be like if every single thought you had aligned with the goals that you were trying to achieve, with the person that you wanted to be. What if you no longer had thoughts like, oh, I just want a little bit of that food that isn't good for me, a little bit of those snacks that are just not really going to help me feel good, I'm going to have a crash, but please, just a little bit, those urges. Or what about those thoughts that say, am I really good enough? Am I ready? I don't know. I feel like a fraud. Anything that's really limiting or pushing you away, taking you away from what you desire, from what you burn for you're passionate about. Well, you have to take charge and say, wait a second, I don't want to keep thinking like this. Because if your thinking patterns were supporting your growth, it'd be so much easier. The moment I went from really criticizing myself when I was trying to ski up a difficult hill, make a climb that I felt out of shape for, I was out of breath, I was struggling with my stamina, I would start to say, oh, you're fat and out of shape and this isn't good, right? That was just making it even harder. But the moment that I started encouraging myself, the inner dialogue changed to, hey, you can do this, you got it, you're doing great, look at all this progress you're making, your pace is picking up, you're feeling pretty good, right? And so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that I began to perform well. This goes for everything from your relationships, your health, your business and financial success. Every area of your life is vastly affected. And if you don't pay attention, then it's probably being affected negatively. When you use the power of intention, you can start to design what you would like to be thinking. And when you're so deliberate, you can structure it in a form and a sentence where it's easy to remember, it feels good, it's not too corny or you can't buy into it, but rather it feels relatively natural. If not, a little bit of resistance is okay, of course, in the beginning. So ask yourself that powerful question. What thoughts would be constructive? What thoughts would lift me up and elevate my level of performance? What would make it easier for me to feel good, to feel confident about myself, instead of making it more difficult than it needs to be? You deserve to feel good, to feel happy, to feel encouraged. As you're moving closer and closer towards your goals, you need to get better and better at making yourself feel good. And when you feel good, it's so much easier to do good. Remember that when you have an empty cup, it's very difficult to share anything from it, to help anybody else. And when you're running on fumes, well, you're always kind of lacking behind and you're always struggling and reaching. And it's almost like everything is just a little bit more difficult than it really needs to be. I can beat any challenge. I can overcome any difficulties, and I will give my all until I finally break through, or anything along those lines. affirmations are a great way to help you get some inspiration around the type of thinking that would be more constructive. And the more that you really reinforce this type of positive thinking, the more that you utilize it, the more natural it becomes. So of course it's weird at first. If you're used to criticizing yourself, this is going to feel like an alien language initially, but after a little while, it becomes normal. So be okay with that little bit of, oh, I'm out of my element here and this feels weird and I don't really mean it. That's okay when you're first starting out, or even if you've just forgotten and you need to remind yourself to get back into it. Now, if you want even more help with upgrading your mindset, if you'd like me to coach you personally every single week to help you become the very best version of yourself, then I invite you to jump over to erafael.com. Over there, you can book a one-on-one call with me. We'll talk, see if it's a good fit. And if so, I'll be holding you accountable, giving you all the tools that you need to be successful, as I've done for hundreds and hundreds of my clients before you. And yeah, if you want to take advantage of this, the link is in the description. Go over there, book a call, we'll talk. Can't wait to see what's going on in your life and how I can help you upgrade yourself and take it to the next level. As always, I hope that you have enjoyed this one, and I will catch you on the next one.